So let's get started with biotic factors that affect ecosystems. You already understand that biotic factors are those that originate from how living organisms in an ecosystem interact with and affect one another. Good. Remember that the biotic component of an ecosystem comprises of organisms that can be grouped into producers, consumers, and decomposers. You know they say no man is an island. No single organism in an ecosystem is isolated or on its own. Organisms in an ecosystem interact with one another. The activities and mode of life of one organism in an ecosystem affects other organisms in that ecosystem. First, organisms must feed. Food is a biotic factor. Those that cannot make their food, the consumers, depend on the producers of green plants for food. Others that cannot feed on the producers of green plants feed on other consumers. This leads to predation, another biotic factor. So it happens that some organisms can have similar food choices, which are often limited, insufficient, or not enough. Hence, they compete for food. Competition is a biotic factor. Some may not even be developed enough or do not have the structures to enable them get food or nutrients in the form that they can easily utilize. So they form associations with other organisms to be able to get the food or nutrient they need. Association is another biotic factor. And what happens if an organism's food choice is affected by disease, pathogens, or even pests? They may die off, and that means starvation. No food for those organisms that feed on them. It's pretty terrifying. Disease, pathogens, pests, and death are also biotic factors. There could even be cases where an organism reproduces so fast that the available food is insufficient to support the large numbers. What can that lead to? Competition. So you can see how the rate of reproduction, a biotic factor, can lead to competition. It's amazing. The behavior of some organisms like migration, where they spend part of their lives in one ecosystem and the rest of their lives in another, can also affect other organisms in such ecosystems. Migration is another biotic factor. Remember that some producers need to reproduce sexually. For plants to reproduce sexually, they need pollinators. If these pollinators are absent, then pollination might not occur and can affect food supply for consumers. That's that. You now know that organisms can affect other organisms in an ecosystem. In subsequent lessons, we'll study these biotic factors: food, predation, competition, association, disease pathogens, pests, death, rate of reproduction, migration, and pollinators. Let's go.